I just want to know why he did it. What made him take my daughter from me? What made her take my grandbaby from me? They didn't do anything to deserve it.
He killed his girlfriend, then tossed their newborn daughter into the murky waters of the Mississippi River on a cold January night.
I'm just tired of all this killing out here. People, please think before you do something. This is hurting us. I mean, what are you going to do when somebody shoots your parent or your child?
Police found the engine still running and the driver's side window shattered into 1,000 pieces. Danielle Hoyle lay on the pavement with 5 gunshot wounds to the head. But it was what they found in the back seat that stopped their hearts. A diaper bag labeled Kennedy sat perfectly still, but the 2-day-old infant was gone. Within the hour, the father was at a Walgreens buying candy and a card for another woman, while a newborn was facing a dark secret that the Mississippi River refuses to give up. Tonight, we're dissecting the forensic timeline of a crime so cold the judge calculated the sentence using a stopwatch. 1 year of prison for every hour of this baby's life. If you're here for deep forensic analysis and the psychological profiling of cases that stay in the shadows, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You're watching The Dark Minds. Inside the sterile, fluorescent hum of the Memphis Police Digital Forensics Lab, the air is heavy with the kind of silence that only exists when tech and tragedy collide. On a stainless steel workbench lies Danielle Hoyle's Apple Watch, a small, cracked screen that served as the final, silent witness to her last moments on Earth. Bypassing the passcode isn't just a technical hurdle. It's like breaking into a diary that hasn't finished being written. When the encryption finally gives way, the data dump doesn't show a woman in fear. It shows a mother in negotiation. There are dozens of messages exchanged with Brandon Isabelle, the man who was supposed to be her partner in raising 2-day-old Kennedy. But as investigators scroll back, the tone shifts from the mundane details of newborn care to something jagged and clinical. Just hours before the 911 call from Levi Road, a single message from Isabelle lands with the weight of a death warrant. It's devoid of emotion, stripped of any paternal instinct. It reads, "I can't be a dad to that kid. Let's end our mistake, Danielle." In the world of forensic profiling, ending a mistake is a chillingly specific phrasing. It suggests that to Brandon, Danielle and Kennedy weren't people. They were errors in a ledger that needed to be balanced. While the digital team is tracing his words, the real-time crime center is tracing his ghost. They pull the data from the city's license plate readers, the LPRs. These are the silent sentinels perched atop traffic lights, and they don't blink. At 11:36 p.m., exactly 21 minutes after the shots rang out in Whitehaven, Isabelle's white sedan is flagged. It's captured crossing the Willis Bridge, moving with terrifying purpose toward the dark, isolated tip of Mud Island. He's moving fast, but he's moving alone. When detectives finally track down the vehicle, they expect a crime scene on wheels. They expect shell casings, blood spatter, or perhaps the frantic remnants of a kidnapped infant. Instead, they find a car that is suspiciously clean. It smells of industrial cleaner and fresh air. It's a vacuum. Brandon had spent his time post-murder scrubbing away the physical evidence, unaware that the digital evidence had already moved faster than he could. But forensic investigators are trained to look where the light doesn't reach. They pop the trunk, they lift the carpet, they unscrew the housing for the spare tire, a dark, cramped cavity, often overlooked in a rushed cleanup. There, tucked deep into the corner as if it were a discarded piece of lint, they find it. A single, tiny, white infant's sock. It's stained with a dark, copper-colored crust. It's a piece of clothing that belongs in a nursery, not a spare tire well. As the technician bags it, the question isn't just whose blood is on that fabric, it's why the sock is here. But the child who wore it is nowhere to be found. The digital trail showed his intent. The bridge cameras showed his path. But that blood-stained sock? That was the first physical proof that the mistake Brandon wanted to end had left behind a mark he couldn't wash away. Is this the moment the premeditated plan began to unravel, or was the sock left behind as a subconscious breadcrumb? Stick with me, because the next turn in this investigation leads to a dumpster and a receipt that will make your blood run cold. The air inside the interrogation room at 201 Poplar Avenue is thick, stagnant, and smells of cheap floor wax and old coffee. Brandon Isabelle sits there, draped in a calm that feels entirely unnatural for a man whose child is missing and whose partner is in the morgue. For hours, he dances around the truth, weaving a web of I don't knows and I wasn't theirs. But detectives don't play music, they play back the evidence. They show him the Apple Watch messages. They show him the bridge footage. They show him the blood-stained sock. Slowly, the wall of denial begins to crack, not with a burst of emotion, but with a terrifyingly casual shrug. The mask doesn't just slip, it falls off entirely, revealing a void where a father's heart should be. Isabelle leans forward and begins to narrate the unthinkable. He walks the detectives through the darkness of Mud Island, a place where the Wolf River loses itself in the massive, churning currents of the Mississippi. It's a place of local beauty by day, but at midnight in February, it is a graveyard of black water and biting wind. He admits to it. He admits to the shots fired at Levi Road. He admits to the smell of gunpowder in the Malibu. But then, he describes the drive. He describes sitting in the driver's seat with a 2-day-old infant, 6 pounds of life, wrapped in a polka dot onesie, crying in the back. He tells the detectives he drove to the water's edge, where the riverbank drops off into a 3-8-degree abyss. With a clinical detachment that makes the veteran investigators shiver, Isabelle explains how he reached into the back seat. He didn't just leave the baby in the car, he unbuckled her. He took the child out of the safety of her car seat, walked to the edge of the Willis Bridge, and, with the same effort one might use to discard a bag of litter, he tossed Kennedy into the dark, swirling void. In that same motion, he claims he watched his 9mm handgun follow her down, disappearing into the silt and the shadows of the riverbed. The room goes silent. A detective, his voice cracking with a mix of fury and disbelief, leans in and asks the one question that every human being in Memphis was screaming. Did you hear her? Did she cry? Did you even hear her hit the water? Isabelle looks the detective dead in the eye. There is no moisture in his gaze, no tremor in his hands. He simply mutters that he didn't stay to listen. He turned his back before the splash. He walked away from the sound of his own daughter's end because, in his mind, the mistake was finally corrected.
Did you put it in the water or did you toss it into the water?
But as the confession ends and the handcuffs click shut, a massive forensic discrepancy emerges. Isabelle admitted to throwing the baby and the gun. He admitted to the murder. But when search teams and divers combed the exact spot he pointed to on Mud Island, they found the river was empty of everything but mud and debris. And back at the station, a technician realizes something vital.
Despite 5 days of searching the Mississippi River during the cold, frigid temperatures in February, baby Kennedy was never found.
Isabelle's car was clean, and the riverbank was bare. If Kennedy was thrown into the water, where was the car seat that had held her just minutes before? Brandon claimed he threw the baby, but he never mentioned the seat. The confession solved the who, but it left a gaping, jagged hole in the how. The evidence was moving, and as the cameras at a nearby Walmart began to flicker to life, the investigators realized that Brandon Isabelle hadn't just committed a murder, he had staged a disappearance that was still missing its most haunting piece of furniture.
According to the police affidavit, Isabelle admits he shot Danielle in the head and tossed his baby girl in the Mississippi River. Campbell says Danielle and Brandon worked together and weren't involved long.
If you want to understand the terrifying psychology of a killer, you don't look at the crime itself. You look at what they do the moment the blood dries. While the Memphis Police Department was scrambling, light bars flashing and radios screaming to initiate a statewide Amber Alert for a missing 2-day-old infant, Brandon Isabelle was moving through the city with the casual indifference of a man running Sunday errands. Surveillance footage recovered from a local Walgreens captures a scene that defies human logic. Brandon walks through the sliding glass doors, the fluorescent lights overhead reflecting off the same eyes that had watched Danielle Hoyle take her final breath just an hour prior. He doesn't look like a man who just threw a 6-pound baby into the Mississippi River. He looks like a man in a relationship. On the store's grainy security feed, he is seen browsing the aisles with haunting focus. He selects a 6-pack of Sprite. He grabs a bag of Trolley sour gummies. And then, he pauses at the greeting card aisle. With the care of a thoughtful partner, he selects a Hallmark card for his other girlfriend, Artisha Stewart. This wasn't a panicked flight from justice. This was a man resetting his life to normal. He stood in line, paid the cashier, and walked back out into the night. The receipt in his pocket, a paper trail of his absolute coldness. But the alibi wasn't finished. The cameras at a nearby Walmart pick up the next thread of this forensic nightmare. Isabelle pulls his white sedan up to a massive metal dumpster in the shadows of the parking lot. He kills the engine, steps out, and opens the trunk. There, illuminated by the harsh parking lot lights, is the car seat, the very seat that had cradled Kennedy Hoyle from the hospital to the site of her mother's execution. With no hesitation, no final glance, and no sign of remorse, Brandon lifts the plastic and fabric seat and heaves it over the edge of the dumpster. He treats the primary evidence of his daughter's existence like a bag of household refuse. To Brandon, if the seat was gone and the baby was in the river, the mistake would be invisible. He closes the trunk, gets back into his car, and drives away, leaving the silent witness of Kennedy's first and only 45 hours of life buried under the city's trash. As these tapes were being reviewed, the physical reality on the ground was becoming grimmer. Divers from the Memphis police and multiple rescue agencies were braving the brutal February currents of the Mississippi. They focused on the confluence at Mud Island, where the water is a chaotic, opaque swirl of silt and deep channel debris. They went down day after day, searching for the 9mm handgun, searching for any sign of the child. They found nothing. No steel, no lead, no life. The river, nearly 200 feet deep in places and moving with a force that can pull a grown man under in seconds, seemed to have swallowed the evidence whole. But then, on a cold morning weeks into the search, a technician spotted something caught in the tangled roots and mud of the riverbank. It was a tiny, pink, knitted infant's hat. It was soaked through, heavy with river water, and caked in gray silt. The search team froze. Was this the final piece of the puzzle washing back from the abyss, or was it just a cruel coincidence, a piece of discarded clothing from a different life altogether? As the hat was bagged and tagged for the lab, a devastating realization began to settle over the investigation.
During the police interrogation, Isabelle said baby Kennedy was in her car seat when she was thrown into the Mississippi River. Amid the search, detectives found one piece of evidence located in a grassy area a few feet away from the body of water.
A small hat, like a beanie-style hat, the kind that you would give an infant child when you release that child from care at the hospital. It was white and it had some design on it.
And that's the way it was when you found it, correct?
Yes.
When you found it, what did you think?
I thought we're not going to find the baby. We're not going to find it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Brandon Isabelle had confessed to the what, and the cameras had shown the where, but the river was holding onto the who with a grip that no diver could break. The physical proof was vanishing into the mud, leaving only the digital footprints and a blood-stained sock to tell the story in a courtroom that was still years away.
27-year-old Danielle Hoyle was shot in the head in February 2022. Her baby, 2-day-old Kennedy Hoyle, was never found and presumed dead.
All new at 6, it's a case your news leader has been following for years. A man accused of killing his girlfriend and throwing their newborn baby into the Mississippi River. He was supposed to stand trial this morning, but there was a delay.
It's hard. I mean, come on. No, it's almost 4 years, going on 4 years. It shouldn't take that long. They do it with just like that. They take our loved ones from us, and we have to wait and suffer.
The confession was on tape. The receipts were in hand. But as the trial approached in late 2025, the defense would ask a question that would haunt the jury. Without a body and without a weapon, how do you prove a murder occurred in the middle of a dark, silent river?
We don't know the details around that. I've not seen a confession yet. I've been told about it, but I've not seen it. And that's why I say we have to get the discovery that they have, part of which is this alleged confession.
By the time the calendar flipped to September 2025, the tragedy of the Hoyle family had transitioned from a frantic search to a grueling legal battle inside the wood-paneled walls of the Shelby County Criminal Court. Brandon Isabelle sat at the defense table, his face a mask of practiced indifference, as Judge Jennifer Johnson called the court to order. The prosecution didn't just present a case, they rebuilt a nightmare, brick by forensic brick. They started with the sock. That tiny, white piece of fabric found hidden in the spare tire well was no longer just a piece of clothing, it was a biological witness. DNA analysts took the stand to confirm that the dark crust on the fibers was a perfect match for Danielle Hoyle. It was the physical bridge between the murder scene at Levi Road and the clean interior of Isabelle's getaway car. Then came the digital autopsy. One by one, the open loop of the Apple Watch messages was closed. The jury watched as the screen displayed the cold, calculated intent. I can't be a dad. Let's end our mistake. The prosecution argued this wasn't a crime of passion or a sudden snap. It was a premeditated erasure, a man attempting to delete a human legacy as easily as clearing a browser history. When the verdict came down on September 30th, the word guilty echoed through the room 6 times, covering 2 counts of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and the tampering of evidence. But the true weight of the law didn't land until the sentencing hearing on the 20th of November 2025. The courtroom was suffocatingly quiet as Judge Johnson addressed the defendant. She handed down a sentence that would ensure Brandon Isabelle would never again breathe the air of a free man. 147 years. She broke the math down with a clinical, devastating precision. 2 consecutive life sentences, totaling 102 years, for the murders of Danielle and Kennedy. But it was the final 45 years added for the kidnapping and child neglect charges that turned the courtroom into a place of profound, symbolic reckoning.
I just had to see the monster who did this to them.
25-year-old Isabelle is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, child abuse, and neglect, and kidnapping. February 1st, police discovered his ex-girlfriend, 27-year-old Danielle Hoyle's abandoned car in Whitehaven. Hoyle was found nearby, shot to death. Her family says she was on the way to meet Brandon Isabelle with their newborn Kennedy.
Judge Johnson looked directly at Isabelle, her voice steady but laced with a moral iron. She explained that those 45 years weren't a random number. They were a tribute. 1 year, she stated, for every single hour that baby was allowed to breathe on this earth. The math of justice was meant to be the final word. In the eyes of the law, the 45 hours Kennedy spent in this world were now balanced by 45 years of Isabelle's life behind bars. It was a sentence designed to honor the brevity of a life stolen before it could even begin. But as the deputies stepped forward and the heavy chains began to rattle around Isabelle's wrists and ankles, the room realized that justice and peace are two very different things. April Campbell, Danielle's mother, sat in the front row, her eyes searching Isabelle's face for a flicker of humanity, a crack in the stone, a single word of truth. Even as he was being led away to spend the rest of his natural life in a cell, Isabelle remained a vault. He had confessed to the act, but he had never surrendered the location. He had accepted the 147 years, but he refused to give the family the one piece of information that would allow them to finally close the door on the riverbank.
There's no need for you to do anything, Brandon. You could have walked away. You should have stayed gone. Because my grandbaby was going to be taken care of regardless. We missing out on Kennedy 2 days. Not even a full 2 days. My grandbaby gone. Just like that. You threw her away like she was nothing. Come on now. Overkill. You shot my baby 5 times in the head. Now she was a rabid dog. I can't forgive you for that. I don't care how much I try. I just can't. Because all you had to do was stay gone. You didn't have to take their life. You didn't. And I can't forgive you. I'm so sorry. I tried. I got a grandbaby that cry every day, missing her mama. And all I can say is, it's going to get better, right? It's not getting better for her. She miss her mama. She miss her sister. I try to get her to write a statement, come here and tell y'all how she feel. She's scared to be around you. You took her from her mama. You took her mama from her. Come on. Her sister, you know how hard that baby cried, telling me to go find her sister, and I'm out there looking for her, and I can't find her. And then they hear you threw her in the river. How you think that made her feel? My grandbaby should be here. My daughter should be here. And you should have been gone.
The chains clinked against the floor, a rhythmic, metallic heartbeat as he vanished through the heavy doors. The law had finished its work, and the judge had done her math, but as the family stood up to leave, they realized that while the killer was going away, the mystery of where Kennedy truly lay was still flowing somewhere deep beneath the surface of the Mississippi. The trial was over, and the sentence was historic. But for those left behind, the most haunting question of all remained unanswered. In a case built on digital footprints and blood-stained socks, how do you find peace when the only witness left is a river that doesn't talk back? It is now May 2026. The headlines that once gripped Memphis have yellowed in the archives, and the frantic energy of the search teams has long since faded into a somber, permanent silence. Brandon Isabelle is gone, erased from society, tucked away in a maximum security cell where the only thing he has left is the cold, mathematical weight of 147 years. He is a man who tried to delete his responsibilities, only to find himself deleted from the world he so desperately tried to manipulate. But for April Campbell, the passage of time hasn't brought the closure that the news anchors promised. Every week, she finds herself drawn back to the edge of the Mississippi River, standing on the banks near the Willis Bridge. She looks out at the water, a massive, churning artery of brown and gray that moves with a deceptive, heavy stillness. To the rest of the world, this is just a landmark. To April, it is a vault that holds the only thing she has left of her granddaughter. The tragedy of the Hoyle case isn't just found in the violence of that February night. It's found in the enduring mystery of the river itself. The Mississippi is a living graveyard. Its bottom is a landscape of shifting silt, tangled trees, and the wreckage of a century. Divers have explained that at the confluence where the Wolf River meets the Mississippi, the undercurrents are so powerful they can move a car, let alone a 6-pound infant. As the days turned into months and the months into years, the reality has become a jagged pill to swallow. Kennedy Hoyle may never be recovered. She has become part of the river's secret, a life that began in a hospital and ended in an abyss, leaving behind nothing but a blood-stained sock and a memory. April stands there and whispers to the wind, wondering if Kennedy is resting in the silt or if the current carried her miles downstream, far beyond the reach of the Memphis search grids. There is a profound, aching irony in the judge's sentence. The law gave Brandon 1 year for every hour of Kennedy's life, a poetic attempt at balance. But as the sun sets over the water, casting long, bloody shadows across the bridge, you have to wonder if the scales can ever truly be even when one side remains empty.
He got to hold her and everything. How could you kill something that's part of you? I mean, seriously. If you didn't want her, you should have just stayed gone.
Brandon Isabelle took a life and was given a century. He took a child and gave back a confession. But he kept the one thing that money, DNA, and digital forensics can't buy, the peace of a proper goodbye. Danielle Hoyle lies in a marked grave, a victim of a mistake she never committed. But Kennedy remains out there, somewhere beneath the surface, a 45-hour legacy that refuses to be forgotten, even if she can't be found. The case of Danielle and Kennedy Hoyle is a reminder that while AI and forensics can catch a killer, they cannot always heal the wound. It is a story of a digital trail that led to a cage, and a river trail that led to nowhere. Was 147 years enough for 45 hours of life? Or does justice only truly begin when Kennedy is brought home? Let me know your thoughts on the year-per-hour sentence in the comments below. We're continuing our series on the forensics of the forgotten next week, exploring the digital footprints that killers always seem to leave behind. Hit that subscribe button and stay with us as we keep searching for the truth in the dark minds.
I actually slept, and it kind of felt good. You kind of got like a little release yesterday, to hear that verdict, guilty of all 5 charges. I'm just happy he going to prison and he gonna be gone. All he had to do was walk away. My baby gave him an out, all he had to do was stay gone.